Hi, I'm Tim Morgan from BLA and I look after the Humminbird and Minn Kota product ranges. Today we're going to be talking about sounders. I've fished all my life and I believe that your sounder is the most crucial part of equipment you can have on your boat. I'm that confident with what my sounder shows me, I won't throw a lure out unless I see fish on it. Basically, today we're going to talk about how sounders work and what you get when you spend more money on a sounder. So basically, entry-level sounders come with a transducer mount on the back of your boat, a small screen up the front, and basically what that does is it sends sound waves down the bottom, bounces back up again, sends that return through to the screen, scrolls along, gives you a history of where you've been, how deep the water is, how hard the bottom is, and most importantly, if there's any fish between the surface and bottom. So basically, with your entry-level units, they're giving you a single beam. So with the Humminbird units, that's a 20-degree beam. So if you're saying 30 foot of water, that's going to cover about 10 foot of bottom for you. So out in Moreton Bay here, you know, it's a pretty big area. You're only going to be covering a fairly small area to find those fish on the screen. When you step up to the next unit, you go up to a dual beam unit. And basically with a dual beam unit, with a Humminbird unit, you've got a narrow 20-degree beam and a wider 60-degree beam. So in that 30 foot of water, you're going to be able to cover about 30 foot of bottom, which to me, covering more ground means less time looking for the fish, more time fishing. And basically what you're looking for when you're going out on the screen is looking for little arches and things like that on the screen. When you're looking for fish on a sounder, basically idle speed's the best speed to go. Doesn't matter if you're chasing snapper way outside in 50 metres of water, you know, chasing bream in the estuaries or bass or trout up in the lakes, idle speed's the best speed to go. And when you see fish on the screen, they'll arch up like that, going at that slow speed. But then if you stop, say put the electric down and start fishing for those fish, those little arches will actually become straight lines across the screen. You can see on the screen here now, we've actually gone over a few fish this morning on the side of a bommy, so a few little snapper. We're only drifting over them at a pretty low speed, 0.5 kilometre an hour, and you can see those arches are actually little lines coming up on the screen. So, you know, there's a few of them, they're moving up and down the screen a little bit with the swell, but because those fish are up off the bottom a bit, there's a bit of bait there on the screen as well. Those fish are pretty active, so you want to get your lure in there quickly. When purchasing a sounder, it's also crucial to know which one to get for you. So if you're doing a lot of offshore fishing, deeper water fishing, you want to look at a sounder with say an 83 or a 50 kilohertz beam. That lower frequency beam will give you much better penetration into the deeper water. If you're only fishing really shallow water, you want to look at a higher frequency beam, because basically with a higher frequency, it gives you a lot better definition, but the drawback is you don't get as good depth capacity. So if you're fishing outside, low frequency. If you're fishing inshore reefs, freshwater and estuaries, high frequency. Stepping up from the dual beam unit, we'll go into a unit which has been around for a few years now, the down imaging units. And basically with down imaging units, they use a very high frequency beam, so using 455 and 800 kilohertz. So they give you a great deal of great definition, but the major drawback of these high frequency beams is you can only get it down to about 75 metres in the down imaging mode. So, you know, if you're going out fishing 100 metres of water, down imaging's probably not for you, but in the shallower reefs and inshore reefs, down imaging's great. The major advantage of this down imaging beam, it's still a 60-degree beam, so you're covering about equal your depth, but it's a razor thin beam, so it's only 1 degree wide. So as you're moving over the area, it's going to give you a very precise section of what's happening, and like if you're going over reef, rock, it's actually going to show as reef or rock, whereas on your normal dual beam units, you've got a cone-shaped beam, you're getting a return back from a wide area, it's averaging that return out and just giving you a flat graphical line at the bottom. With the down imaging, still that, because it's a really narrow beam, you're actually going to get a 3D view of the bottom. So like, yeah, if it's a rock there, you're going to see a rock, fish off the rock. And the great thing about that high frequency beam with a real narrow beam is being able to separate fish from structure really easily. I've got a great screenshot here of one I took down in Glenmorton Dam a couple of years ago. It's actually a down imaging shot of a tree in about 55 foot of water, and you can actually pick up 6 bass sitting around that tree. Whereas on a normal sonar, because you're getting a return back from a wide area, it wouldn't have showed those bass separate from the tree, so I probably would have kept going. So that down imaging is great for separating fish from structure. Coming out shortly from Humminbird is the new Humminbird 360. So basically, current model side imaging units, so 2012 onward model side imaging units, basically there's going to be a 360 transducer compatible with them. So basically how it works is you'll have a transducer mount on the back of the boat. That transducer will deploy when you're going, so it goes down below the outboard and it'll work like underwater radar. So with side imaging now, we have to be side imaging past something to see it, allowing us to cover a lot of area. Now we can be up on the electric fishing. We can have the 360 transducer going, so it'll give us to 45 metres depth capacity, up to 50 metres each side of the boat. So basically what it allows us to do is it'll cover up to 100 metre diameter around the boat. But for me as a fisherman, I'm up on the front of the boat fishing with the electric motor. I'm going to be able to see rocks, weed, snags, fish in front of the boat and target my cast to them without the boat having gone past it. So for me, the fish are getting a lot harder to catch. If you can see the fish without having put the boat past them first, without having the outboard going, you're going to catch a lot more fish. So, you know, where's it going to go next? I don't know, but this is definitely going to be a great weapon to have in your arsenal, and it's going to help me catch a lot more fish. We've done a little bit of on-water testing with this 360 at the moment, and I've got a couple of great screenshots here to show you. The first is going from a bit of sand to reef. But not only that, is you can see that sand to reef all the way around the boat. So I do a lot of brim fishing in shallow water, a lot of snapper fishing around shallow reef. It's going to allow you to see those reef edges coming up ahead of you and target your cast right to the edge of those reef edges, which is a great feature to have. It'll also show you fish moving. So if you've got you might be fishing for snapper and you might have a school of, like in the bay here, you can get a school of long-tailed tuna, mackerel or something like that come in. You'll be able to see a school of bait fish come up on the screen, the white slashes around it, which what fish show like up on side imaging, and target your cast to those fish without even like knowing they're there if you had your normal sonar. So with side imaging, it's great because you can see it as you're going along, but now when you're on the front of the boat fishing, you can see where that sand is, where that rock and that reef edge is, and you can target your cast at that rock and reef without having put the boat over, which is really great. And got a great little shot here that Sean took down in Sydney Harbour. It's a ship slip coming into the water. You can actually see it's a actually digital camera photo. You can see the ship slip coming into the water, and then you can see it on the 360 screen. So you can see how clear it is. It's basically side imaging all the way around your boat. The fish don't stand a chance now. They can swim, but they definitely can't hide.
It's Bill Klassen here from The Fishing Show, and if you like this instructional video and want to learn more, it's simple. Go to fishingshowtv.com.au and see a whole host of additional videos.